Alright, hello and welcome back to the channel. Here we are back in the Kiowa, which I think is probably one of the easiest helicopters to fly in DCS world. It's a little cold in Bodo here in Norway, so we're going to turn on the anti-ice and also turn on our anti-collision lights, which I think are reversed in one of the tutorials. Anyway, here we are. There's the exterior, so our lights are on. And this is a fun little helicopter, I'm not going to lie. Very maneuverable, looks gorgeous. Polychop has done an amazing job here. No doubt there'll be some updates and tweaks as time goes on. So we're back in the cockpit here, and it's pretty easy to take off. There is a little bit of friction with the skids rather than the wheels, which Casmo noted. This is a issue with DCS, it's a DCSism. I don't think it's anything that we'll see fixed in the near future, but maybe. So I'm just putting in a little torque right now, and I'm running in VR here, so the cockpit looks amazing and it runs really well in VR. Just a little bit of torque, as you can see it climbing there, and now I'm pulling back on the cyclic just to stop that forward motion, which, there it goes. So it's a little bit fiddly to get off the ground. I'm not quite proficient in this yet, but definitely one of the easiest helicopters to get used to. So now we're just introducing some torque pedal just to spin it around. And I'm going to go over to this little circle here. This is a bit small, this circle, but we'll see if we can just kind of hover over this. And you really just need to keep your movements as tiny as possible. And as soon as they start getting large, that's when you get all over the place. It's actually tricky to do. And I would have put up the... I'm concentrating here, but I would have put up the control display, but that's good for reference. But it's something you just have to kind of learn and feel. You can kind of see what I'm doing. So, you know, really I'm not putting in a lot of torque with the pedals. The torque pedals. I'm mostly just using the cyclic, maybe a little bit of torque here and there with regards to the collective. Remember that the engine power is at 100% right now because I need all of that engine power. It's not the same as thrust when you're comparing it to the jets. It's just the amount of power that you have available to control the torque that you're going to put into the blades. It's slightly different. You're not really mucking around with the power too much, especially in regimes like this where you need all of that power to keep the helicopter off the ground. So it's so nimble, really easy to fly. You can see I'm just holding it here a little bit again, just kind of mucking around, just kind of practicing getting used to holding it. I have heard from, I think, one of the Air Warfare Group guys, Takeda, who's a former Black Hawk pilot, saying when you're learning this stuff, you can do little boxes and things like that, fly around little areas just really slowly, so you could follow some of these lines around. And the other thing that helps is fixing an object, a stationary object in front of you that you can focus on rather than moving your head around too much. Everyone's different, everyone's orientation is different, everyone's setup's going to be slightly different too, so you may have different visual effects that impact how you control the helicopter. But like I said, really small movements. It's very, very nimble, very, very easy. Again, I think this is one of the easiest helicopters to fly, and I had a few people on my channel last week saying they were struggling with this. So it could be a control setup. I haven't adjusted any curves, so I haven't really played around with that in terms of the cyclic or the throttle, and I may have to play around with the throttle a little bit. I haven't quite got that set up exactly how I want it. So I'm using just the Windwing Orion 2. I don't have a collective as such. I'd like to get one if I'm going to fly helicopters as much as I think as I'm going to fly this. So I'll just wandered out a little bit over the grass here. So we'll head over to this circle. But so I'm using the split throttles here. So the right throttle is my power level, So engine RPM basically. So it's, like I said, it's set at 100% right now. Just holding that helicopter. I need that power so that I can put in the torque that I need. And the right hand controller, if you like, or thrust controller, is used as the collective. And I keep it in the same tradition that I would for the jets. Pushing it forward increases rather than lifting it up, and that was just for muscle memory. What happens is you tend to find that you overdo it when you get discombobulated, like you're flying the jets. And sort of muscle memory kicks in, you're doing things you shouldn't be doing. So I'm going to try this circle now, see if I can hold myself in here a little bit. And like I said, I've only done this maybe a dozen times, so I know. I was listening to a helicopter pilot recently who was doing mountain flying qualifications, and she was talking about 50 landings, something like that, or 150 landings in different regimes to get certified. So when you think about that and that number just to get certified in the real world, you have to question how many actual landings have you done in DCS world before you can say, am I proficient? So here again, trying to hold it in the circle. Really tiny movements, nothing too big. And as soon as your movements get big, you'll find that's when your adjustments start getting big, and that's when you just basically lose where you're at, and you have to reset, compensating for the potential movement. And of course, I do have some. I think I have some wind and wind and turbulence in this, and that's something I'm fighting a little bit here as well. Yeah, I think my movements are starting to get a little large there. You can see, you can hear the blades. That's not a good sign, based on the experience that I've had. I think I'll see if I can follow the circle around. I think you can. Not quite. You can see I can hear the blades again. So I'm getting a little large. Yeah, can do it. Go a little too large there. But I'll try and follow the circle around just to give you an idea of just how pretty easy, with more and more practice, this is going to get easier and easier. I'm going to try and follow the circle around here, just to give you an idea of just how nimble and how tight you can get this aircraft if you really want it. And I haven't touched really the collective at all. Maybe a little bit of torque just to stop it, but then adjusting again. Mostly it's pretty stable. You can see that in the center of the screen there, or to the right of the screen, I guess. So my head's about 75 torque. And there's a slight delay, remember, too, when you bring in torque or reduce torque. Okay, we lost it there. So, but it gives you an idea of just how, maneuverable it is and how easy it is to fly. I love the dust effects now that DCS have put in. So we'll just go transition here into basically level flight. We've got some hills and mountains around to get around. It's a beautiful area, actually, here in Norway. It's one place I haven't visited yet, and I'd love to get over there. I've heard it's pretty expensive to tour around there. It's an expensive place to live, but it is beautiful. No question about that. So it's extremely easy to fly this helicopter. It's so stable. It feels very light. I think they've done a great job of the flight model. And I think with continued practice, I think you could get really good at putting this helicopter onto all sorts of landing spots if you chose to do so. It's fun. It really is. I had a little turn of the rockets the other night. Haven't had a chance to fly it much since, just getting used to that flight model. Sorry, just adjusted my VR headset there, just trying to... Sometimes it tends to slip down a little bit, and then I don't like it too tight on my head, because then you get a headache after about 30 minutes of flying. It's getting a little low here, but yeah, you can see how much fun it is. I'm going to have to bump up here a little bit. not especially fast. It's not the fastest helicopter in the game by any stretch. I think the Black Shark is still the fastest. But it's been a very, very fun aircraft to fly. It's been a lot of pleasure getting used to this nifty little helicopter. They've done an amazing job, so congratulations to Polyshop. Alright, we'll leave it there, and I'll show you one of the landings here and just again how easy it is to fly. Cheers.